And the most brazen gun murder that year happened at this corner in South Jamaica, Queens.
Instead, I hear pow, 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 I hear 4 shots.
Rookie police officer Edward Byrne was actually hit 5 times in the head, executed by a squad of thugs acting on orders from jailed crack enforcer Howard Pappy Mason. Mason wanted to show police and the community who was really ruling the streets.
Todd was standing there laughing at the car, like they used to talk to him in the car. The
guy said, you guys in Queens getting real crazy shooting cops, right?
Pappy Mason, who paid 4 members of his crack gang $8,000 to carry out the execution. 6 months later, the FBI and NYPD took down the family crack empire of Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols, taking his mother and this sister into custody.
What'd you say to the police when they came in?
Kiss my
yeah. The feds say they want to break your family's control of the drug trade.
Scott Cobb very quickly made a deal to cooperate with the feds.
I'm willing to go on stand.
Doing his state time in federal protective custody. Cobb and his 3 accomplices were convicted before a new state law was put on the books, which calls for life without parole if someone is convicted of first-degree murder in the killing of a police officer. That meant, starting in 2012, Byrne's family went before the parole board every 2 years to plead for the 4 men's continued incarceration. Byrne's older brother Larry led the charge and talked about his mother and his late father Matt in 2016.
He died with the fear that someday these people would be released from prison, and I'm determined to see that that doesn't happen.
Edward R. Byrne was born on February 21, 1966, on Long Island. Into a family rooted in law enforcement, his father a long-serving NYPD officer. From early childhood, Eddie was raised with duty, honor, and a profound belief in public service. After serving as a transit police officer in 1986, he transferred to the NYPD on July 15, 1986, and was assigned badge number 14,072 to the notorious 103rd Precinct in Jamaica, Queens. Byrne spent barely 9 months adjusting from trainee to full-time cop when his life, and New York City itself, was changed forever. South Jamaica in the late 1980s was a war zone, overrun by random violence, crack dens, and drug crews like Howard Pappy Mason's Bebos and Kenneth Supreme McGriff's Supreme Team. The police were reviled. Entire city blocks operated under the de facto control of drug lords. On a February night in 1988, a local Guyanese immigrant named Arjun had agreed to testify against local traffickers. His home had been firebombed twice, and he had endured threats. Eddie Byrne was assigned to guard the house alone, sitting in his marked patrol car at 107th Avenue and Inwood Street. At around 3:30 a.m., a group of 4 men, a well-coordinated hit team, approached. One knocked on Byrne's passenger window to distract him, while another quietly approached the driver's side and fired 5 .08 caliber shots into his head. The others acted as lookouts. Byrne was rushed to Mary Immaculate Hospital, but did not survive. The murder sent shockwaves through the city and the nation. Byrne, just 22 and weeks into his tenure, symbolized both innocence and sacrifice. President Reagan personally offered condolences to the family. Vice President George H.W. Bush carried Byrne's NYPD badge with him during his 1988 campaign. Within 6 days, 4 men were arrested. Todd Scott, who acted as the distraction, Philip Copeland, believed to have relayed instructions, Scott Cobb, the driver, and David McClary, the triggerman. Evidence showed they split $8,000 for the murder, money ordered by Howard Pappy Mason from his jail cell at Rikers. Cobb's videotaped confession revealed chilling details. The hit was orchestrated by Mason from prison using coded phone calls, a landmark case in law enforcement records. In March 1989, all 4 were convicted of second-degree murder and criminal weapons charges. Justice Thomas A. Demikos sentenced each to 25 years to life. Mason himself, after a federal trial in December 1989, was convicted of murder in aid of racketeering and sentenced in 1994 to life without parole. He remains incarcerated in United States Penitentiary Allenwood, previously at Administrative Maximum Facility Florence. The impact of Byrne's murder reshaped policy and policing. Mayor Ed Koch authorized the creation of Tactical Narcotics Teams, TNT, and street narcotics enforcement units to dismantle gang-run drug operations. Marijuana and crack began to retreat under coordinated sweeps. Wiretaps and extended surveillance became standard. The murder catalyzed adoption of New York's drug kingpin law, which empowered prosecutors to go after racketeering leaders. Byrne's death also inspired Congress to establish the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program, providing billions to improve policing infrastructure. Byrne's remains were honored by over 10,000 uniformed officers at his funeral, an unprecedented show of solidarity. In Queens, 91st Avenue outside the 103rd Precinct was renamed Edward Byrne Avenue. A park became Police Officer Edward Byrne Park, and the Byrne Institute of the Police Athletic League was dedicated in his name. A Bronx middle school and other public institutions also bear his name. The Byrne family dedicated the rest of their lives to justice and law enforcement. Eddie's eldest brother, Lawrence Byrne, became Deputy Commissioner for Legal Matters within NYPD. The family's activism continues each year at February memorial gatherings at the corner where Byrne fell. In recent years, parole hearings for Todd Scott, denied in January 2024, David McCleary and Philip Copeland have drawn sharp condemnation. Officials, including Senator Chuck Schumer and the NYPD PBA, oppose any release, emphasizing that a police killer's freedom would dishonor Byrne's legacy. Culturally, Byrne's assassination became a symbol. Films and rap songs reference Pappy Mason and the Supreme Team era as real Tulsa kings whose fall provided cautionary tales. In Nas's "The World Is Yours," he raps imagery conjuring older Queens hustlers. Hip-hop lyricists often evoke Byrne's murder as a pivotal moment in crack-era morality. Documentaries such as Queens Reigns Supreme, books like Blood Over Queens, and 60 Minutes Murder in the Bronx episode examine Byrne's death as a watershed in policing methods. His story underscores how an officer's sacrifice can elevate public safety initiatives and legislation. Each year, at 107th Avenue and Inwood Street, a midnight vigil is held by the NYPD and Byrne's family. The slain officer's name has transcended statistic. His shooting, though violent and senseless, became a force to unify law enforcement, alter policy, and remind the city that no crime is off limits to scrutiny. Edward Byrne's life was brief. His legacy endures. He didn't die quietly. He died guarding truth, protecting an immigrant witness, and representing New York's better impulses. His death drove reforms in policing, laws targeting crime bosses, and public awareness about the stakes of the drug war. Byrne's life and death remain etched in the city's memory, not as tragedy for its own sake, but as a symbol of courage, sacrifice, and institutional change.
And the most brazen gun murder that year happened at this corner in South Jamaica, Queens.
Instead, I hear pow, 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 I hear 4 shots.
Rookie police officer Edward Byrne was actually hit 5 times in the head, executed by a squad of thugs acting on orders from jailed crack enforcer Howard Pappy Mason. Mason wanted to show police and the community who was really ruling the streets.
Todd was standing there laughing at the car, like they used to talk to him in the car.
The guy said, you guys in Queens getting real crazy shooting cops, right?
It was unprecedented practically that people would go out and murder a police officer just to make a point.
New York Times columnist Jim Dwyer now refers to the late 80s crack trade as outlaw capitalism.
People were just making a lot of money and people were killing to keep that money.
That was obviously my first police officer funeral. It was just massive. I looked at it in an awe and I carried it with me. That single event just really, it turned the tables on everything that we were doing.
The stunning execution of police officer Edward Byrne on this street corner proved to be a turning point for a city that was bursting at the seams with crack-related gun violence. It pushed the NYPD to join forces with the feds to take down drug families top to bottom.